The sun hadn't yet risen over Pinewood Lake when the screech of sirens shattered the stillness of my secluded cabin. Handcuffs snapped around my wrists as 4 police cars boxed in my gravel driveway, their red and blue lights slicing through the early morning fog. Neighbors spilled out of their homes, their faces a mix of shock and curiosity, as officers pulled me toward squad car. Standing behind them was Karen Mitchell, the Pinewood Homeowners Association president, her eyes brimming with crocodile tears. "Thank God you're here," she sobbed, clutching her chest. "I was terrified to call, but he's been out of control lately." I stared at her, my jaw tight, disbelief coursing through me. Out of control? All I'd done was try to fix up the old cabin I'd inherited from my uncle. What lies had this woman spun to paint me as the villain in her twisted narrative? Let me rewind to how I ended up in this mess. My name's Tom Delgado, a 46-year-old former Army combat engineer who's been piecing my life back together after a colossal mistake. 8 years ago, I got behind the wheel after one too many drinks at a friend's going-away party. That DUI cost me everything: me job, my security clearance, my marriage. I've been sober since, working as a welder on offshore rigs, chasing paychecks to rebuild what I'd lost. 4 months ago, a call changed my trajectory. My uncle Victor had passed, leaving me his weathered cabin on Pinewood Lake, a serene retreat in northern Oregon. I hadn't seen Uncle Victor much in recent years, but he never judged me for my past. The cabin, a modest log structure from the 80s, sat on a stunning lakefront lot with something I didn't realize was gold at first: the only private boat ramp for miles. With $50,000 saved from grueling months on the rigs, I saw the cabin as my shot at a fresh start. Fix it up, maybe turn it into a rental, and live quietly where no one knew my history. Pinewood Lake, tucked away in the misty hills, seemed like the perfect place to heal. But peace was the last thing I'd find. The day I arrived, boxes still stacked in my truck. Karen Mitchell appeared like a storm cloud. At 49, recently divorced, and living in the smallest house in our lakeside community, she'd clawed her way to HOA president. Her presence screamed trouble, the kind my military instincts had been trained to spot. "Mr. Delgado," she said, striding up with a stack of papers thick enough to choke a lawyer. "I'm Karen Mitchell, HOA president. We need to discuss your property violations immediately." Her tone wasn't neighborly, it was a demand for obedience. She handed me a notice claiming $15,000 in fines for unsafe structural conditions. The cabin was deemed uninhabitable, the boat ramp unpermitted, and a community hazard. I had 48 hours to fix everything or face eviction. The document looked legit: photos, measurements, legal jargon, but something felt off. "Ma'am, I just got back from 4 months offshore," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady, my old anger management lessons kicking in. "This feels like harassment." That's when Harold Bennett, a 76-year-old retired civil engineer who'd lived here since '85, stepped in like a guardian angel in flannel. "Tom, take it easy," he said, his hand on my shoulder. "Let's handle this smart." He was right. Losing my temper was a trap I couldn't afford. Karen's eyes narrowed, but she left with a curt nod. Later, I called the former HOA president, who dropped a bombshell. Karen had tried to siphon $70,000 from community funds for repairs that were really renovations for her own house. She'd lost everything in her divorce and was desperate for cash. Harold added more that evening over coffee on his porch. "Tom, she's been eyeing your boat ramp for months, taking photos, asking about property lines. But here's the thing: she doesn't know your uncle paid $25,000 extra in '82 to make that ramp private. It's yours, not the community's." The pieces clicked. Karen wasn't just power-hungry. She was a cornered animal, fighting for survival. Her campaign against me was relentless. She went door to door, whispering about my DUI, claiming my neglected ramp was tanking property values. The neighborhood split: some bought her lies, others backed me thanks to Harold and the former president, and a few just wanted the drama to end. I spent $10,000 on repairs to dodge her eviction threats, but the attacks kept coming. Noise complaints about my welding, anonymous letters calling me a dangerous criminal, and dirty looks at the local market. I was ready to sell and run, but my army buddy Mike's words stopped me. "Tom, you've been running since that DUI. When are you going to fight for something worth keeping?" Harold pushed me to dig deeper. We spent hours at the county courthouse in July 2024, unearthing records that confirmed the ramp was private, built in '82 before the HOA even existed. "Hold your cards close," Harold advised. "Let her overplay her hand." Karen escalated, calling an emergency meeting where she waived my DUI record and demanded the ramp be reclaimed for the community. I stayed calm, asking for a week to consult a lawyer. Her panic was palpable. She needed that ramp, and she needed it fast. Her desperation turned criminal. Late-night visits to my property, caught on my hidden trail cams, showed her planting used motor oil and fake industrial waste to frame me for environmental violations. I had footage of her face, her car, her muttering about emergency evacuations to buy time. When an environmental officer arrived, my evidence exposed her scheme. I could have pressed charges, but I hesitated, remembering my own second chance. Instead, I confronted her with the footage. Her breakdown was raw. She'd co-signed a $400,000 loan for her ex's failed business, and with 48 hours until a federal arrest warrant, she faced prison and losing her kids. The ramp, worth $800,000 to a marina developer, was her last hope. I gave her 24 hours to surrender, but she doubled down, forging HOA documents and altering property maps to claim the ramp was communal. At 4:30 a.m., she made a 911 call from a payphone, painting me as a violent veteran squatting on community land. By 6 a.m., August 12, 2024, police swarmed my cabin. Officer Daniels, a former Marine, listened as Karen presented her fake documents. My DUI popped up, but so did my service record. "Officer, those papers are forged," I pleaded. "Call the county clerk." Daniels did, and Mrs. Larson confirmed my ownership in seconds. Karen's lies unraveled as I showed my footage. Handcuffs clicked on her wrists as she screamed about losing her kids, her life collapsing in real time. Her punishment was swift: 3 years in prison for fraud, forgery, and false reporting. Her house was foreclosed, her kids gone to her ex. I rebuilt, turning the ramp into a $100 per month community access program, renovating the cabin with the profits. A new HOA, led transparently, ensured no repeat of Karen's tyranny. A year later, her parole hearing letter arrived. I burned it, writing only. Karen chose crime over truth. I chose to build. Justice is better outcomes, not punishment. The community thrived, and I found my place. Was I right to offer mercy, or did it embolden her final crime? Should I have pressed charges sooner? What would you have done in my shoes? Drop your thoughts below, and if this story of justice gripped you, hit like and subscribe for more.